All right. So, okay, I'm recording now. I think today we'll just take a little bit of time to review some important questions for test number 1 on Monday. Like I mentioned, it is online, so you can do that anytime on Monday. It's not a set time. I'm just going to open it up for, I have 2 sections. You guys can do that on Monday. And you can do it in the morning or you can do it in the evening. As long as you do it on Monday, it's good. Oh, and with that said, there is no class on Monday. So ideally, you guys would do the test in your class time, but I know some of you are a little busy with other things. So there is no class on Monday. So you have, oops, sorry, let me get my pen going here. I think I make the same mistake every time. So you have your test number 1 on Monday. It's online. It will cover units 1 to 3.3, and 3.3 is up to ionic naming. And there's no class on Monday. If you guys need help on Monday, I will be around in your class time, but I won't be actually teaching. I'll just be sitting around my computer to see if anybody has emails or wants to, even if any of you on Monday want to hop in Zoom and have a chat on Zoom, you can. But there's no official class. So test 1 Monday, it's online, and there'll be no class. Now, why am I here? Well, rather than go through the PowerPoints, I figured we could look at some of the worksheets, specifically the worksheets in Unit 1. There's a couple of practice problems I think would really help you guys out for your quiz on Monday. So let's look at that. So I'm going to clear my drawing now in 1 minute, so make sure you take a picture of it or whatever. I will be posting an update on D2L today about your lab and your test, just so you guys get it in writing. But yeah, I'm going to clear the screen and we're going to look at the first worksheet. This, by the way, guys, if you're looking for this, you can find it on the D2L. Just click on content and then click on worksheets. So 1, click on content, 2, click on worksheets. There are also answer keys for all of these worksheets. So you can, practice them and then look at the answer. So, okay, worksheet 1.1, I think if my memory serves me, there's a couple or at least one question here that I want to do. Yeah, okay. So this is a good question for you guys to know for your test and your final exam. This is one of the first things we covered. I don't know if you guys can remember because it was back in September, early September, we talked about the difference between accuracy and precision. So let me make this a little bigger. And specifically, I'm going to get us to look at question number 2. Now, one thing I'll mention just over on the side here, accuracy is how close you are to the true value. Precision, that says value, not valve. Let me fix that. Doesn't look much better, does it? Anyways, accuracy is the true value. Precision is how close your results are to each other. Okay, that's like the kind of the simple definition. So in a chemistry lab or a physics lab or biology lab or any lab, any scientific lab, you would want to make sure every measurement you made was accurate, meaning close to the true value, and repeatable. And what I mean by repeatable is if you weigh an object 3 times or 4 times, will you get the same mass every time? That's precision. If you weigh the mass and it's accurate, meaning close to the true value, then we would say it is also accurate. So this is a good example, wink, 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 for your test on Monday, where we're given a couple situations here. A and B are different questions. And what I want you to do is look at the data in A or B and tell me if it's accurate, precise, both accurate and precise, or is it neither, meaning it's just a horrible answer? And I mean, we can see neither in this first example, A. The true value, this I would obviously have to give you. You wouldn't be able to answer this question if I didn't tell you the true value. So the true value, if I'm trying to weigh something, it's apparently 50.1188 kilograms. Okay, that's the true value. So I take the object, I bring it over to the scales in the lab, and I weigh it 3 times. Okay, I'm taking the mass 1, 2, 3 times. And each time I weigh it, look at my answers. The first time I weigh it, I'm getting 42. Then I get 45. Then I get 37. This is horrible, right? This is not what you want to see. Imagine if you're weighing yourself, right? And you know you weigh 50 or 60 kilograms, 70 kilograms, whatever. But every time you step on the scale, it's saying like 42, and then it's saying 37, and then 45. You know that that's not good. So the answer to A is neither, meaning it's not accurate, not precise. B is a little bit different. I had a student this morning in class really have a hard time wrapping her head around, at what point is something not precise? And I will tell you, on any test or any final exam, it's very clear. If you look at example B compared to A, okay, let me erase some stuff here, kind of clean it up. If you look at B compared to A, I mean, A's answers are all over the place, 42, 45, 37. If you look at B's answers, they're very close together. 0.76, 0.75, 0.76. That is pretty precise. In a perfect world, you'd want it to be 0.76 every time. But I don't know if you guys remember from your lab, it changes depending on, I shouldn't say it changes, but have you guys ever noticed in the lab, you put something on the scale and the number seems to move around? It kind of like the last few decimal places change. That's just because they're so sensitive. So even things like wind or something like that can change the number. So anyways, long story short, these are definitely precise. However, they are not accurate. So this would be not accurate, but it is precise. Again, having the last number change is not a problem. It's honestly pretty standard for a chemistry, a piece of equipment where the last number might change. If the 7 changed, if we had like 0.86 and then 0.75, that is not precise. But the last digit changing is very, very, very normal in a chemistry lab. And I know you guys have seen it, whether or not you remember, but you have seen it. Okay, so that's a good question to know. Now, I'm going to have to clear my drawings in a second. Interesting. I made some of this test. There's 3 of us working together, 3 instructors. So we all kind of work together. And the test that we came up with, it honestly doesn't have a lot of questions about significant figures, which you guys might like. I know significant figures aren't everybody's favorite thing. There is a question I will talk about later before you guys go today that is about significant figures. But in terms of this stuff, it's not on your test. Like you won't get a number and have to tell how many sig figs are there. So it's pretty straightforward. So let me move into another worksheet. I don't think, just hold on, guys. I'm just checking something out. Sorry, just give me 1 second here. I guess I should have paused the recording. Okay. Okay, so anyway, sorry, I don't think this is this question either you would really have to know, but I think I will go through the answers. This is a classic multiple choice question for like a final exam. I didn't really see it necessarily on your test, but this is a good one to know for the future, to know the SI units. So even if you don't need this for Monday, it's good to know some of the SI units. So the SI unit, for example, for mass would be the kilogram. Arguably I would accept the gram, but it's technically the kilogram. The key here is that for mass, we are not using pounds like Americans. We would use grams or kilograms. Amount of a substance, this is an exciting one. We're going to talk about this in maybe chapter 3 or chapter 4. It's the mole. This is huge in chemistry. Now, temperature can be a bit confusing because there are a lot of units for temperature. There's Celsius, there's Rankine. If you've ever heard of Rankine, it's not used very much. There's Fahrenheit, but in chemistry, or for SI units, we use the Kelvin. So again, I don't think I saw this question on the test, but it is a good one to know for your final exam. Now, the last one is actually a derived unit. It's not one of our 7 base units, but for pressure, we typically use the Pascal or kilopascal. I would take either, but the correct answer is Pascal. So Kelvin is K, kilogram is kg, Pascal is PA, and mole is MOL. Very, very interesting. Good to know for the future, I'll tell you that, because I think on your final exam, there's typically a multiple choice or something where you have to come up with the SI units. Abdullah asks a really good question in the chat. There are all the questions multiple choice. Whoa, sorry, I don't know what happened there. Whoa, I've never seen my computer do that. Some of them are multiple choice. Some of them are fill in the blank, but that's about it. Multiple choice or fill in the blank. There is one calculation you have to do, and I'm going to show you that now, well, in a few minutes. So multiple choice, some fill in the blank, and there is definitely one calculation, which I'll get to before we finish for today. Okay, so that was worksheet 1. Definitely worth looking at a little bit of worksheet 1. Worksheet 2, not a whole lot here. And now, okay, let me preface this by saying the only reason I would tell you to maybe move on from worksheet 2 is because you guys will be using D2L, your computers, for this test, which means you'll have access to the periodic table, the internet, your phones, everything. So you are definitely 110% responsible for knowing, this is worksheet 2, by the way, you have to know the names and symbols of elements. I mean, you have to. However, if we're being real, you do have access, because this is an online test, to everything, your notes and everything. I mean, it's a borderline open book test. So for your final exam, I would try to make sure you have these memorized, but for your test next week, you should be okay. So worksheet 1.2, it's a fantastic worksheet, but again, if your test is online, I mean, let's be real, you're going to use the internet, which is fine. Okay, so worksheet 1.3 and 1.4, this is a good one to know in general, but there's not a lot to show here. It's basically just definitions. It's only 1 page, and it's like looking at the definition of atomic number, what is an atom, what is a compound, what is an electron. These are good to know. I won't bother going through the answers to these because you guys can do that yourself. Just a little reminder here, if you want to see your answers, you can go to the answer key here and have a look at it yourself. I don't want to waste time reading definitions to you because there are some questions I want to actually practice with you. So the answers are there. You can check that out on your own time. Okay, I think if my memory is correct, this is one of the better worksheets. Yeah, this is a good worksheet. Okay, let me make this one full screen. This is a good one to know. Now, on your test, this would be fill in the blank or multiple choice. Like you won't have a table to fill in like this, but I might say, you know, for multiple choice or fill in the blank, what is the atomic number of carbon 14? What is the mass number of carbon or hydrogen 2 or something like that? So let's look at a couple of these. I'll start with an easy one. And then I'll do one down here and then we'll check. There's one other big question I want to do after this one. So we'll do a couple of these and then check the time. Okay, so carbon 14. Well, the first thing you guys need to do is go to your periodic table and find carbon. Now, if any of you are on campus right now, or if you're on campus Sunday, or even this weekend, I don't think you're allowed on campus on Fridays, but on Saturday or Sunday, if you don't have a periodic table, go get one. They're outside my office. They've been there for a month, just sitting there waiting for you guys. So it's in building 7242A. Okay, that's supposed to be an A. It's not a very good A. I'll do big A, capital A, okay? There are data books outside my office if you'd like to pick up a copy. If you're not going on campus anytime soon, no big deal. The periodic table is posted on D2L, and honestly, you can use any periodic table you want. You don't have to use ours. It's just good to get used to ours. Okay, so I look up carbon on the periodic table and I find out that carbon has an atomic number of 6. Remember, the atomic number is the number over the element on the periodic table. So like on the periodic table, it would look like this. And you'd have some other numbers there, of course, but we only care about the 6. With that one single number, and excuse me, and the information in the question, we have enough information to solve this. Okay, we have everything. As long as I have the mass number and atomic number, I'm good to go. 14 is my mass number. My number of protons equal to my atomic number. My number of electrons equal to my atomic number. It's always the same for an atom or an isotope. If there's no charge, it's not an ion, it's all equal. So just by getting the atomic number, I know all of these numbers. I mean, I can do the same thing down here. If the number of protons is 30, the atomic number is 30, the number of electrons is 30. Easy. Okay, let's get the rest. Number of neutrons. Now, number of neutrons is a formula. It's not in your data booklet, but the formula is your mass number is your number of protons added to your number of neutrons. Okay, so I know my mass number is 14. I know my number of protons is 6. So I subtract and I get 8. And I'm almost done. There's only one thing left to finish this problem. I want to write my isotope symbol. Now, because you're doing this online, I don't think you're going to get this particular question because it's hard to write these symbols on D2L. It's not the best for writing symbols, but I would write carbon. And then on the top left, I would write the mass number. And on the bottom left, I would write my atomic number. So mass number over atomic number. All right, let me do one more. Okay. Oh, now I had this question earlier today and I already forgot it. I have to open up my periodic table because I can't remember what 30 is. I think it's zinc. Yeah, chemical number 30 on the periodic table is zinc, Zn. So I know that this is zinc. Now I've not done the question even remotely. I do have the atomic number. I do have my number of electrons. That's no problem. But I need to fill out some other things. Okay, well, let's start with the mass number. Now remember, mass number is protons plus neutrons. So 30 plus 35 would give me 65. And now I'm done. All I have to do is fill in my information. So this would be called zinc 65. And I would write it as Zn, that's the formula for zinc, 65 over 30. All right, so how do you guys feel about that? I mean, again, remember, this is done on D2L, so you won't have to complete a table like this. You will have to just fill in the blank. I might say, what is the mass number of, or what is the atomic number of zinc, for example, or what is the number of neutrons in zinc 65, something like that. So you can use this to practice. Your test, by the way, is only an hour or less. It should only take you maybe 20, 30 minutes, but I'll set the time for up to 2 hours. So for anybody who likes to take their time and needs more time, I'm going to double your time. So you'll have 2 hours. No, like Abdullah asked, are there questions about definitions? You won't have to define anything, but like, again, you might get a multiple choice. You know, like what is the subatomic particle that has a negative charge, right? That is the definition of electron. So you would have to fill in the blank and say electron or pick it from a multiple choice list, but you won't have to write any big definitions. Although, guys, I say that since this test is basically open book, it wouldn't be bad to have definitions, but I don't think we actually have any. Okay, now it's 4:02. I'm not in any rush. If you guys need more time, let me know, but I want to do one big question for you guys for a review. This is one we haven't done in a month, I'd say, and it's on worksheet. Wait a minute, it might be on this worksheet. Yeah, right here. This one, question number 3 or 4. I strongly recommend, wink, wink, that you guys try question 4. I'm going to do question 3 with you right now, but I would strongly recommend you practice something like 3 or 4 for your test next week. All right, so let me read it. Let me explain it. We haven't talked about this since, I'd say, middle of September, but it's really easy. There's only one trick to this question. So I'm going to do number 3. This is worksheet 1.5. I'm going to change. Okay, there, that looks a lot better. Okay, silver has 2 isotopes. Using the data below, calculate the average atomic mass of silver. Now, the average atomic mass is the number on the periodic table under silver, and we're going to calculate it using the isotopes. So the method is as simple as this. We multiply these 2 numbers together. Sorry, my pen. We multiply these 2 numbers together and we add up the answers, and that's it. There is, however, a little exception or something we need to note here. We always write the percent as a decimal. Okay, so for 1 mark here, or for like the first part of your marks, I need to write that as a decimal. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rewrite this table. Now, I do not care about the isotope names, nor do I care about their mass numbers. I'm going to write down the actual mass of this. So 106.9051. The units are AMU. That's just a fancy unit of mass. It's an atomic mass unit. And I'm going to multiply it by, I guess I'll change color. Okay, I'm going to multiply it by that decimal as that percent as a decimal. So decimal 51839. Now remember, to change a percent to a decimal, just divide by 100. Okay, cool. Let me rewrite it again. What I mean is I'm going to do it again for the next line. So 108.9048 AMU. sorry guys, I multiply it by 0.48161. I'm going to get my answers and I'm going to add them up. Okay, that's it. Easy. Like, I don't like saying the word easy, but you know, this is a pretty straightforward method. And I'm going to take a minute as well, guys, to mention or talk about significant figures as well. So first things first, let's multiply those two first numbers on the top. So 106.9051 multiplied by the decimal 51%, but remember I change it to a decimal. So 51839. Okay. So this is 55.418. Now, that is all of my sig figs, but I will write down another two numbers. We don't like to round until the end, but in terms of significant figures, because I'm multiplying, I can only take the lowest number. That's 5 significant figures. So again, your test isn't really many questions on sig figs, but we should know how to do sig figs. So I multiply the next number, 108.9048 times decimal 48. I talk to myself when I do math sometimes, and I get this answer. This seems different than what I had this morning. Let me just make sure I didn't make a typo. 108.9048 times 48.161. Yeah, okay. So this I get 55.449. That's all of the sig figs I can have, but I'm going to keep a couple of extra numbers just so I'm not rounding. I don't want to round too much. All right. So I add these numbers up and I keep in mind my significant figures. So add them up. That's it. Add up your two numbers. All right. Now I'm using my computer, like Windows calculator. It's not very good. So, I mean, it works fine. It just is a little harder to use for me than a TI-80 whatever. Okay, so I get my answer. 101. Oops, sorry, let me undo that. Got to keep my colors normal here. I'll write my answer in red. So I add them up. Okay. Sorry. All right. Add them up and I get 110.86817 AMU is my units. Now, way too many significant figures. I'm adding two numbers. So that means I take the lowest number of decimal places, which is 3 decimal places. So my answer becomes, when I round this perfectly, 110.868 AMU. That is definitely a question you guys want to practice for your test on Monday. And if you would like to try one yourself, I highly recommend doing number 4. Okay, question number 4. All right, guys, so it's 10 after 4. Does anybody have any other questions or things they would like to see?
Master,
Yes, sir.
why I got other answer when I add this number?
What did you get?
I don't know. It's 300 something.
Oh, I don't know how you got 300 because there's no way. If you add these two numbers here, there's no way it can be 300.
I just have to add, huh?
Yeah, just add them up. 55 and 55.
So I have a question about the lab.
Yep.
That's due today, right? Like today is the last day that you can
Nope.
upload it?
I've already talked about the lab. You can hand it in anytime next week.
Because I didn't have any time this week. I had like 4 midterms.
Yep, that's fine. You can hand it in next week.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
No problem. All right. So whoever just had problems with the calculation, you might just try it on your calculator. Go step by step. Hit equals after every step.
Yes, Master, I got it.
All right. Perfect.
Thank you.
Any more questions? The other thing too, sorry to interrupt. If anybody can't think of anything right now, or you're busy, you just want to enjoy your Thursday, you can send me an email on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I can meet with you guys on Sunday on Zoom if you have more questions. But yeah, somebody else sounded like they had a question.
Master,
Yeah,
like this question will be multiple choice or fill a blank?
fill in the blank. You'll actually have to type in the number there. So you have to be really careful. If you get, like, say, for example, the significant figures wrong, you won't get a 0, but you won't get full marks.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Asil, in the chat. All right. Any other questions? Again, if you really can't think of anything, but you do have a question later, you can email me. I got about 1,000 emails in the last 2 days, but I will be checking them over the weekend. Thank you, Abdullah and Aisha and everybody else. All right. Tasneem, I've already mentioned, guys, I can't talk about the lab anymore. You really got to pay attention. I have said a million times today, you can hand the lab in any time next week. I'm not going to talk about the lab anymore. Okay. All right. I'm going to get out of here. So if you have any questions, anything you need help with, send me an email. I'll be around all weekend. Have a good weekend,
Master,
everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.